So Magesh, in chapter 2 of your book, it's about mastering time management. How has time management helped you in your career?
As you know, Jit, I am a single parent and I had to look after two boys on my own most of the time. And with that, I had to balance bodybuilding and career excellence in my sales. It's not an easy fit. Without proper time management skills, there's no way I could have been able to do all this.
Okay. So in your chapter itself on time management, you speak about the 5 P's of time management.
Right.
Could you briefly run through these 5 P's with me again?
The first P is prioritization. You really have to prioritize your task. So, of course, there's many subsets to it, but I'm just telling you as a brief. You really have to know uh, under the prioritization, right? So, what I call the Eisenhower matrix. You better know what to do now, what to put a schedule, what you can delegate, and what you can delete. These are very important. So, every day, I always will come out with 10 tasks.
Okay.
And I'll put them into these 4 categories, which is important because many people will want to do the easiest task, but that may not be the most effective task.
Okay.
So you really have to know what to do first and how long you need to do it. So that's under prioritization, right? And then comes your planning. You really have to plan how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it. Like I'm in sales. I have caught a lot of advisors coming into the office in the morning to read newspapers and to be on their social media. How is that going to add value? You have to be out there seeing people. That's your job.
Yep.
You can do all these social media papers on your off-peak time, late at night or early in the morning. So the planning and schedule for it is very important. Then comes your productivity, right? You have to be productive in what you do, right? If a task can be done in 30 minutes, do it in 30 minutes. Don't take 2 hours to it. I've caught so many people having their iPad by their side with a movie running, songs running, and they're still doing stuff, walking to get a glass of water and stuff like that. You can't, right? This is where I use one of the technique called Pomodoro technique. You break down your work in a 25-minute chunk. You do a task, you sit down, no moving. 25 minutes, finish it, you leave. If not, you'll realize you're taking longer than what you're supposed to do. Then, of course, be very proactive about it, right? You have to anticipate which is your peak period of work, and don't go and put on a holiday at that particular period of work, and which is your off-peak period where you must go and do all your other stuff. So you will know, right, when is your peak and off-peak, right? You talk to so many people who are in business. I've got a client who's doing travel and wedding planning. They clearly know which is the peak and off-peak. You have to plan ahead for staff and a lot of things. So always be proactive. And finally, is of course, your performance evaluation. You have to be accountable for what you do. You have to ask yourself, okay, I've done this. Is it done in the most effective way? What can I change to make it even more effective? And do it again. Until you've got a system in place where you can do what other people do in one whole day. If you can do it in half a day, the other half a day is there for you to go and do and become that top 1%. This is what all the top 1% of people do.
So out of these 5 P's, right, which would you say is the most crucial P?
It's like having your 5 fingers, you're asking me which finger is most important. All of them have their own purpose, right? Everybody sometimes say, without a thumb, I can't do anything. Try without functioning with a little finger for one day and realize how important the little finger is. All 5 have to come in together at one time and come and clench a fist for you to function. You want the best punch, you have to get all the 5 in together.
Okay, perfect. That's a great answer.
Thanks.
So, in chapter 2, Magesh, you speak about 2 strategies, 2 key strategies. One is the double impact strategy, and the other one is the clone effect.
Yes.
Right? Can you briefly tell us about the double impact strategy and how you have used it?
Double impact strategy is my own personal strategy. Okay, it is something I tried out in the very early part of my career, which I never realized will help me for the rest of my life, right? Because I realized that for me to be doing a double and a what, I only still have 24 hours, right? I still have to go back to a home, I had a wife, had children and all. So what I thought was, let's try something different. Why am I shortchanging myself thinking I need to work one whole day to achieve a certain award? So I came up with this strategy. I carried 2 different planners with me. One planner was a 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Another planner was like 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. So
Okay.
two different planners. So I told myself, I only have 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. to do what I need to do for a whole year. How will I effectively be productive in executing this? And I started doing things which on a normal day I wouldn't do. Like what? Normally, most salespeople will say clients are only available after office hours.
Yep.
And throughout the whole day, they're either sleeping, going gym, and doing so many unproductive stuff. I started going and knocking doors in universities. I started collecting leads door to door because I only at 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I had to figure out a way to be successful. And after 2 p.m., I did the craziest thing. I'll go to club or something or gym, go and shower again and change to a new set of clothes, take my second planner and give myself this hallucination that the day just started. And I started becoming productive from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I started doing double the production than all the people around me. And how it helped me, and eventually when I got divorced and became a single parent, I had to look after my kids. I could do whatever I required to do in first half of the day when they were in school. And I could give them the attention for the second half of the day because I've mastered the double impact strategy, which is to give me hallucination or kind of a mind map of 48 hours that I have. I only have to work 24 hours.
So you kind of split your day into two.
Yes.
Interesting. I think this is the same strategy that you used even when you were competing in bodybuilding competitions, right? Where you now only had half a day to work because you spent half a day training.
Exactly. And that is where now that you mentioned about the clone effect, that's where it came. When I was
Okay.
in the gym for half a day, my secretary has been trained to do all my things which can be done by her. She was preparing for my appointments. So the double impact with my secretary working as a clone like me working there, I was still able to do gym and still give the same or even better results because I had a clone effect merged together in my double impact strategy.
So the clone effect pretty much means getting someone to replicate or do part of the task that you're doing. Is that the same as delegation?
It's the same as delegation,
Okay.
but see, of course, certain things like preparation and everything, right? It's going to take a lot of your time.
Yep.
This is what many people outside spending time on. I have been very clear since day one. I only want to do work which is revenue generating and which is very productive and only I can execute.
Okay.
My secretary cannot go meet my clients.
Okay.
Only I can. But what can she do? Preparing everything, highlighting, putting in a folder, everything she takes care. And when does this happen? When I'm in the gym. So when I'm ready to see people, all the material is ready for me. I just take it and just go.
So is it important then? Is it an important strategy for even someone who is new in sales to have a secretary or a personal assistant for that matter to take care of some of their work while the salesperson focus on revenue generation?
That is the most ideal situation. When, of course, I do understand the constraints when anyone who's starting a business may not be able to hire somebody.
Okay.
Right? But I'm very sure you can always set certain delegation to your own self in certain off-peak period.
Okay.
Like my secretary was on a maternity leave. 3 months, I didn't have someone. I can't just take another person and train just for 3 months. So I have been doing her work for the 3 months. But I just make sure I only do it 1 hour a day at the end of my day during my off peak, just to clear most of the tasks which she's supposed to clear. And I'm still being able to be productive.
Okay. Magesh, what is the Pareto Principle and how does it apply for people in sales?
Pareto Principle basically states that 80% of your result comes from the 20% of your most important work. It's an 80-20 rule.
Okay.
Right? So if you ever write on a day, these are got 10 things to do. Look at those 10 things to do. 2 of them will be the most important and the most productive tasks. Other 8 are just filters. They're just like feeder tasks, which could be done at a later time. So you always have to identify the top 20% of the task, which is going to give you 80% of the results. Right? like in sales, which is the top 20% of the task, prospecting,
Yep.
calling people, making that appointment. And other 80% could be customer service, doing summary, whatever, right? But you see what most of the advisors are doing, the 90% of the advisors, they will do everything else except prospecting. And that is why the result speaks for itself.
So I wonder why is it that people don't like doing prospecting?
That's also, again, one of my another time management tasks called eat the frog.
Okay.
Okay, eat the frog means most of the 70-80% of any industry, they like to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Right? So that this particular strategy called eat the frog is when there's a frog, you better start eating it so you don't procrastinate. And you have two frogs in front of you, eat the bigger frog first.
Okay.
Eat the task which you're procrastinating for the longest. And the task you're procrastinating for the longest, right, is most probably the task which is the toughest but also the most rewarding. So
Okay.
you have got to do that task first.
So the frog here is a metaphor for the toughest task.
Yes.
What's your advice for people who are in sales who don't believe in mastering time management?
Then you're in the wrong industries. Right? You read about the greats. Elon Musk does chunking in 5 minutes. He does one task in 5 minutes and takes a quick break and moves on. I'm talking about 25 minutes. Elon Musk does it in 5 minutes. Right? Warren Buffett does it. Bill Gates does it. Right? Every single great has talked about time management. You can Google about all of them. Every great has got a quote on time management that says about the importance. So if you don't want to be in the top tier, then you have to accept the fact that it's okay to be where you are and just, right? But no harm in applying a few things which I'm mentioning and create that time for at least for your family and for your own self, for your own well-being and mental wellness.
Perfect. So that's chapter 2, and I'll see you for chapter 3.
Thank you, Jit.